he was actually excited. Wow, it's a third player. Finally, some other provider.
I saw some preliminary costings. They're going to be half the price than what
Whoa!
my view, hindi siya masyadong magbabawas ng subscriber sa iba.
Hi everyone, we are back once again for another outlook on what's happening in the economy. And for this edition of the podcast, we have still the greatest minds in the Philippine economic scene. We have Dr. Alvin Ang of the Ateneo and Carlo Asuncion of Unionbank. Very, very smart and amazing people who know their stuff when it comes to what's happening in the Philippines and beyond. So before I begin with the questions, if you had 3 million pesos extra, what would you buy? A penthouse in Shangri-La, which is also around 300 million pesos, Shangri-La Fort, or 2 houses in Ayala, Alabang? We'll go with Carlo first and Alvin.
You know, I was thinking about that kanina when I saw your questions. No? I was thinking I might probably get the penthouse more than the 2 houses. Just thinking that might probably grow more than the 2 houses in Alabang. So
Got it.
yeah, down the road.
For me, ano ako dyan eh. I think in another context, no, I will not put it in any of the 2. Right? Well, it will already give you my view of the economy. It looks like we're going K, and if I do that, I will worsen the K. I'd rather put that 300 to something that can create jobs.
Okay.
And pull up the rest of the economy. I mean, that 300, even if I got that penthouse, if the rest are not going to be well, then that's not going to have value in the future too. So I'd rather put it where people can get opportunities to earn more.
Grabe si Dr. Alvin ang icebreaker pa lang, sobrang going hot already. Oh.
No, because you asked me that question.
Yeah.
Nagulat nga ako sa tanong mo kanina.
Meron pa isa yan.
Well said. Ito, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. 10-year hold. No selling. What would you want to hold for 10 years? 2,000 pieces of Bitcoin or 1 ton of gold? So if you convert it into today's prices, halos pareho sila.
To be honest, to me, up to today, even if the world thinks of it as valuable, I still think that there is no underlying asset to support Bitcoin unless the world eventually agrees that it's valuable. It's like, to me, it's a balancing act. I'll start with a little bit and still with some of it in gold, and then eventually shifting it as the world technological and the digital world changes, no? Like what Carlos Bank is doing. Unionbank.
Careful ako sa sagot ko.
Got it. Carlo.
Anong gusto mong hat?
Any
economist hat o banker hat?
if I would give you if I will hawak ko sila pareho ngayon, what will you get?
You know, old school ako eh. I'd still go for the gold. Although definitely Bitcoin has some, of course we know its value is really growing, but in economics, so a lot of economists that you talk to or at least read, medyo hold back sila doon, but ako, I'll go for the gold. I'll go for being sure, Okay. But of course, if you're gonna ask me with our trust, probably I'll kung yung hat ng banker or specifically from Unionbank, hatiin ko yun. Just to make sure and just to be safe.
Got it. And still, my opinion, 1 ton of gold will still be 1 ton of gold 10 years from now, and yun yung biggest hedge nun against the dollar, and that's why there's, I think, so much interest between cryptocurrencies and commodities right now, primarily because of what's happening for all of the printing that's going on. Anyways, for something that's serious na, Biden is being sworn in this week, whenever this video is out. He will already be the president. And given that we have seen one of the, I guess, one of the most polarizing elections in the past 50 years happen, given that Biden is something that would be probably similar to Obama, how does this affect the Philippine economy for the next 4 years? And given that we also have an election next year,
Even if he's sworn in, there's, this is a, sorry, this is a very divisive election. So, kailangan ng parang internal restoration. And I believe because of that, it will take at least maybe 6 months to a year to work on the outside. But of course, this is the US. No? They will not just stop looking at the externals. But I believe that at the moment, the priority is to make things better inside and to restore particularly the business people. I believe a lot of them really rooted for Trump, especially because of his business support. And so without that, even the policies for other countries would be critical. Based on what I understand, he's putting in somebody, a Secretary of State who is not familiar with Asia, and that's not very good for us. And particularly, there's a lot of plus points here. China is here, so dapat talaga we will have somebody there.
How does that impact the trade relations with China also? Because we're also affected by whatever happens with their trade relations to China.
Ngayon pa lang, umakit na yung 10-year, what do you call this? Fixed income. 10-year tenor ng US Treasuries, no? So most likely tinatrack lang natin yan di ba? So sa fixed income natin yun ang in terms of the peso, of course, if fiscal stimulus, that would come as parang more of a weakening of the dollar. So baligtad, strengthening. That's what we've been fighting off again, because imports collapse. Pretty much we'll be fighting off bouts with strength. Kasi if I'm not mistaken, the DTI secretary has mentioned about 50 pesos daw ang mas komportable. So that would be a challenge throughout 2021. No? Pero marami namang reserve. And pretty obvious that BSP has drawn the line on the sand at 48. No? Kung ano man ang mangyari, talagang suspected BSP conduit banks have been, working, bidding, just to make sure that we don't cross that 48. No? Of course, that's a secret, but that's what naamoy sa market, no? But yeah, and then in terms of equities, kasi ito yung mga fixed income, forex and equities, with the Biden playing into what Dr. Ang is saying about fixing the stability, probably. But of course, I'd say that Trump was more business friendly. And we know that there'll be, when we talk about Democrats, there are more taxes for the 1%, sabi nga nila. So definitely there'll be some adjustment that's going to happen. So we have to look into that as for the equities. Yung sa trade, I think that definitely nothing will say Trump paved the way, in a sense, to being more, let's say, straightforward towards China.
Zeroing in on the Philippine markets, of course, it's expected that the GDP growth would rebound for the year because of what we got last year. But to bring us back into growth and to fast track us, my question is, if you could think of what could be done further to boost the economy in 2021, what do you think should be done?
If we are just doing the same thing as we are doing now, then we will not really see the benefit of reaping the recovery track. So we have to do more. One is really number one is really stimulus. We are so afraid of the losing investment grade. I think it doesn't matter in this world at the moment. So our call in Ateneo as early as March when this all started was spend whatever it takes. And we still hold on to that. Spend whatever it takes to bring back confidence. But spending whatever it takes also requires that you have the capacity to spend that money. I think also the reason why government is not pushing to spend some more is because they cannot even spend whatever they have, projected. In the last 10, 11 months of the year of 2020, they even spent less than 2019. So it's a capacity issue. Now we understand that they cannot put in more stimulus because they know that their capacity is not enough to spend all that money. Kaya to me, you have to address that first. No? So your infrastructure is supposed to be with 10 months of lockdowns. You could have done a lot more with a lot of money put in there, but hindi naman na lumabas yun eh. So you have to see what's it that's causing all of this. And I think it's because the government is not focused on one thing. There's so many distractions along the way. And they're distracting themselves. No, actually, they're the ones distracting themselves. And that's why, you can say 7% growth, 8%. That's very, very possible if you just address the inadequacies of your capacity. All things being equal with capacities, just add that stimulus and target it correctly. It seems na it's not working. Kung ganito lang tayo, we will grow definitely because of a very low base, but not as spectacular as you wanted to.
Prudently maximize spending, and when you fix that, that's when you massively increase the stimulus so that hindi sayang yung ilalabas na pera.
Right.
Okay. Carlo Asuncion?
Yeah. Well, just a preamble. If you would notice talagang nag-a-adjust yung mga tao, nag-a-adjust yung mga consumers. No? They're I don't know if you heard about it, yung natural buoyancy ng ekonomiya. Mag-a-adjust talaga. Although, syempre, nabawasan talaga yung income ng mga tao. No, definitely. And I agree with spending more. Insanity nga yun, diba? Doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Diba? So, that's why you have an extension of bayanihan too, right? No? So, it's really a challenge, no? Talagang, even the more important aspects of government units, like the local government ones, mas bababa talaga yung spending, no? Yung grassroots, and it's really a challenge, no? And we're in a crisis, no? I mean, this is happening even without the crisis, no?
Right.
So I think that has to be clear, and that has to be something that has to be addressed in the long term talaga, about absorptive capacity and the ability to fully utilize, whatever we want to spend. Tapos, I think just to add, one thing that needs to be done is the improvement ng perception about the vaccines. I think one of the things talaga is to bring back the confidence in the consumers. And the government has to be ahead of that and has to be rolling it out crisply and supposedly. Definitely I would say that the more people that are vaccinated, mas magre-responde yung mga markets in a positive way. And I think I really believe that that would play into economic growth, eventually.
Got it. And what's interesting about that is I think it gives confidence for people that, oh, I'm vaccinated, maybe I can be more mobile. I can actually start traveling. I can actually start traveling again, because even for me, during the holidays, no, parang it was so tempting to go to some local spots, but because there's still a fear at the back of your head, what if you get it in the airport, or what if you get it at the hotel? And I think uh, correctly that the vaccine will boost confidence in people. Now, I want to go into something very interesting, and this is somehow a hot topic everywhere, uh, that people have been talking about the third telco, and we are filming this January 2020. We are 2 months into what's supposed to be their commercial operations. Will this really be a game changer? Number one, from a consumer point of view, and will it really also be, will it really level the playing field when it comes to the entire telco business as a whole?
I'll answer that with an anecdote. um, I have a friend who is in uh, where Boracay is, no, near that area, Panay Island,
Mhm.
and of course, the ones that have been providing the services are the two ones. No? And my friend said that he was surprised that Tito, right, was already laying out a lot of their infra, and he was actually excited. Wow, it's a third player, finally some other provider. And with that, I think just with that, no, just a simple story would that brings excitement to the telco sector, in terms of adding another choice, and adding a potential, a competitor to these existing ones. No? Of course, we know na in economics, diba, the more players,
Mm.
the better it should be. At least the services ang makinabang yung mga tao.
So basically, it gives more choices for people, and in the same way, since mas madaming kalaban, it will force them to up their service. So, Dr. Alvin Ang, and siguro to add to that, is it enough for people to switch, given that parang it's comfortable na to just stay with your current line kasi nandun na nakahook lahat ng mga accounts mo, email, social media, etc.
The third telco is really critical at this time. You can look at different data collected about the state of digital infrastructure in this country. You really need more players to add to that, because we're so overwhelmed na yung dalawa. So if you add one more, supposed to be it's going to add capacity, because in reality, if you look at the data of even the own government survey or national digital survey, only 15% has access to internet. And so if you're able to do that, talagang it should be a game changer. Now the question is, are they going to be rolling out it the same thing? I mean saan and how pervasive or expansive they're going to be. I saw some preliminary costings. They're going to be half the price than
Whoa!
the offering, no? Would be half the price. Of course, this is initial offering lang for compared to the existing ones. But I mean, really, the cost of just putting all of this together is really going to be expensive. So ang question dyan is sustainability in the future, no? And I think the switching cost is tempting, but I think like previously, when you had the first SIM cards coming out in the 90s, people have 2-3 providers. It could happen the same way, testing the waters before you shift eventually, feeling better. In a digital world, may tinatawag na redundancy. You need to have you cannot afford not to have internet connections now. So I think redundancy will, even if you can have all three if you like, especially those who can afford it, just to make sure that you're always online. yun, tingin ko, it's not going, I mean, my view, hindi siya masyadong magbabawas ng subscriber sa iba. It should add, and I think even the existing subscribers of the two will subscribe for redundancy's sake.
And this is so interesting, no? Kasi Singapore is a smaller market than the Philippines. 5 million people live there. Pero they have 4 mobile carriers there. M1, Singtel, StarHub, TPG. May bago pa sila, TPG. So, I think if a smaller market like Singapore can have it, that's profitable sila dun, it's something that can exist sa atin, especially that internet connectivity, mobile connectivity is a bigger issue here than in Singapore. So, tourism and travel have been the biggest hit last year because of, again, the lockdowns and the fear of getting infected. Based on the data that we have right now, regardless of what angle you want to look at it, the science or the economy or the government regulations, how long do you think it will take before travel and tourism to go back at least to 2019 levels?
First, ang mag-work dyan is domestic. I mean, you have to separate domestic and international, because the international ones, it's still changing as of the moment, because later, for example, you need vaccine passport siguro. May mga, I mean, the cost will still be prohibitive, no? Unless all the data, all the countries have like consistently seen that the effectivity of the vaccine is pare-pareho na, yan. Tsaka lang siya nung magkakaroon ng confidence. But still, then you add another layer, like I said, the vaccine passport and the likes for international travel. Now, for domestic travel, baka kailangan mo din yan for flying, but for driving lang siguro hindi na muna. But it's still, it's so contingent on the success of the vaccine. International travel. Otherwise, travel and tourism would be very domestic, no? Very domestic. And in our case naman sa Philippines, talaga namang nag-boom naman tayo. Hindi naman talaga international, primarily domestic talaga. But at the moment, it's still expensive, so only a few people can do that. Kung pupunta ka rin lang Marvin sa Boracay, you have to spend at least half a month na, kasi maka-quarantine ka muna pagdating mo, di ba? I mean, you cannot do 2-3 days trip. So this means that people have to save a lot to be able to do this domestic. So that's why my thinking, siguro to recover is contingent on how fast the vaccine effectivity is recognized and accepted by everybody. So without that, I don't even think 3 years babalik na eh. Kasi talagang very, very slow recovery.
And I know naman may sanitation sa mga rooms sa hotel, pero at the back of your mind, parang inisip ko, kung matulog ako sa hotel, yung feeling na baka yung unang natulog sa'yo before yung room na yun, merong virus, nag-share kayo ng unan, parang yung feeling na gano'n is what ako prohibiting me also from moving and traveling also. Anyways, Carlo.
Ako, we were supposed to travel, no? 2019, kami ng pamilya ko, then the pandemic happened, diba? So, ako, once I have the vaccine, I'll travel. Siyempre, magmamask pa rin ako. I think that's it. I agree with what Dr. Ang said about, it's contingent upon, having the vaccine. And then, hindi pa pala yun, yung effectivity, di ba? Kasi we're hearing news here and there about these things. So, just making sure that maayos, mainam yung nakuha mong vaccine, di ba? Is pang tanong yun, di ba? So, I agree that it would take some time talaga. Sa forecast namin, actually, 2022, hindi pa ganun ka, pinakakampante, mga early 2023. Yeah.
Is it safe to say sa mga nanonood nito na gusto mag-start ng travel agency this year, sabihin niyo, wag muna, don't enter that?
Oo, medyo wait muna. Pero kung kaya mo, sige, why not?
Kung nagagawa kang advance booking ng years ahead. Yeah.
Pero what's interesting from an entrepreneurial standpoint, madaming gumawa na ganun. For example, wedding photographer, kasal mo 2 years from now, book early from us, you get a 50% discount. So some people did that last year. But
genius. Well, hindi siya nag-grow this year. Probably mga decline ng 1 to 2%. Now, we're expecting mga 10 to 20% ang decline niya in the beginning. Nako, sabi niya, tatamaan ito, ganun. So, hindi, nagulat kami, na ganyan. It's resilient. So, just to think na hindi siya ganun kalalim might play into what you were observing about how the real estate industry is holding up.